It's a decent song. It's not the best song we got, but it's a decent song to start a show. What's up, everybody? Welcome into today's DLLS Cowboys Podcast, where our very own Joe Hoyt and our very own Clarence Hill were out with all of the new Cowboys assistants, and so we get to learn what this football team gonna do, what them dudes are looking for, and we're gonna have all of that stuff for you today. My name is Jeff. To my, I don't know what it looks like for other people, but to my left, my right on the screen, but my left from the way I'm facing the camera is former Cowboys wide receiver Jesse Holley.
Oh, Jesse Holley went 77 yards. It must be a reality show.
And I think I heard the Joe thing, but Joe Hoyt's here too.
Okay, don't let the 27.
Yeah. How are we feeling on this very, very cold morning? Is it afternoon? No, afternoon would be afternoon, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It would be afternoon. How are you on this cold morning, Jesse?
Oh, fantastic, man. Weather's fine with me, as long as I'm on the inside. Took the dog out for a walk early this morning. Had a little drizzle of the snot in the stash, but nonetheless, you know, I'm a Jersey dude, man. It's still cold though. I'm old.
Yeah, I'm a Dallas guy. This sucks. Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, it's cold outside, and it's not fun at all. I don't like it at all. Joe, you were out yesterday, and it wasn't as cold, which was great. But you guys got to talk to all of the new Cowboys assistant coaches, and so that's where I want to start the broadcast today. Is what have we learned from some of the guys that are going to be coaching these guys this year, especially new offensive coordinator Clayton Adams, who's an offensive line coach with the Cardinals. Now he's the Cowboys OC. But the Cowboys also hired an offensive line coach. So how are the workings? What have we figured out about how this whole thing is going to operate?
Yeah, before I go into that, I want to do a little weather take. It's always hot in Club Pop Pop. Okay, so there's that. Clayton, but we talked to Clayton.
Where legends drop, Clarence Hill just can't stop. Breaking news, you gotta hop in Club Pop Pop.
Yeah, you gotta hop in Club Pop Pop. That gets me every time. But yeah, no, we were in Club The Star at Frisco yesterday, and we talked with Clayton Adams. And I think one of the things about Clayton Adams that people are wondering is, hey, this is gonna be your first OC spot, and yeah, you're not calling plays, but how does that work for you? And he was very, we talk about deference in terms of, Brian Schottenheimer with the Joneses and stuff like that. I think Clayton Adams was all aboard the deference train as well. And he said, hey, my whole job is to basically help Brian Schottenheimer. It's when they're putting things on the call sheet, it's to be problem solvers, what he said, what I think was a fascinating term to use. He's trying to say, like, how do we kind of make things look multiple? How do we make things disguise? How do I be the best I can for Brian Schottenheimer? And I think that's a good position to be in for Clayton Adams, but also for Brian Schottenheimer, because he was in that seat last year doing that for Mike McCarthy. So I think that's a relationship that's going to be good between those two in terms of Clayton Adams knows exactly what he's doing to come in. And I think the other thing with Clayton Adams is, we ask these guys questions all the times, and there's this thing called coach speak, which is very just, hey, we're going to say the basic things and just say what you want to hear. For example, when Eberflus is saying, we're going to stop the run and take the ball away. Well, that's good in theory, but everyone wants to do that, right? I think you can also tell a lot, though, by the demeanor in which sometimes coaches answer questions. So, for example, when we started talking to Clayton Adams about what he wants in the offense as a whole from a mindset, he basically said, I want it like my offensive line. And let me read this quote for you really quick. He said, the same thing I want from every player on offense, and that is to create violence in the run game or in the game. Be aggressive, run, hit. I think that every decision that we make schematically needs to lean in that direction. And while he was saying that, guys, you could see he had that like offensive line, like tenacity almost, that he was almost like biting me down. He's like, yeah, we're going to be violent and physical. And I think that that's kind of music to a lot of people's ears. One other note about Clayton Adams, he never worked alongside Connor Riley, the new offensive line coach, but they almost crossed paths, ships in the dark, over at Sac State about over a decade ago. And they've had a relationship almost since then. So for about 12 to 13 years. And it was kind of cool. One thing that Clayton Adams or Connor Riley said is, when I wanted to learn how to develop NFL offensive linemen, the first thing I did when I was at North Dakota State was call Clayton Adams. He said he went over to Clayton Adams' place. They had, dinner. He slept over. They had a great time. And that's how he learned how to develop linemen into NFL prospects, which he's now developed a lot of guys into doing that.
He brought a spinning night bag.
He slept over, huh?
Well, with the wife and everything, it's a whole thing. Not like,
they get.
I think guys. I don't know if my buttons are going to work, but we're going to find out because I think we have is this a hot dog or is this the bun situation here?
Wow.
I don't know if anybody could hear that.
Yeah,
they definitely heard it, but they have a relationship. They've gone back and forth, and I think that they're going to be very physical in this run game together, and that's something I think that should excite fans. Was the unified vision in that regard?
I think when you hear the word, especially in football, when you hear the word violence, it is applauded, right? Like you want that to be, if not your identity, you want it to be a part of your identity. And I think,
want me some glory hole.
Well, that's after hours. That's after you. That's once you spend the night. That's once you spend the night, maybe a time or two. Well, in your case, maybe on the first night, depending on how you get down. We listen and we don't judge on this show, and we always get hot in Club Pop Pop. That's just what we do here. But violence is the name of the game, and especially when we're talking about in the trenches. And this team has lacked that ability, for a while now to have the physical dominant presence as a whole, right? Because we can always single out, we can say, boy, that Tyler Smith, he is violent, he is physical, he's nasty, he's aggressive. But then we go, well, these other ones so what you need that cohesiveness up front. And if you're going to do anything in the run game, if you're going to do anything in the trenches, I think starting with violence and having that be a mindset and having that be a way of life is paramount. Now, here is the next thing about that part. From the player side of things, you can want to be violent till the cows come home. You can want to be physical and nasty till the cows come home. Do you have the players that embody those attributes that you want as a coach? Again, guys like Tyler Smith, I do think he's a nasty type of individual in a violent, good football way, not in a outside of that. We look at my guy Brock Hoffman, right? He comes off as a nasty, violent guy. But now I have to figure out, do I have the rest of the troops on this offensive line front that is going to be able to embody the mantra and the attitude and the want of the violence from the coach in their everyday game planning and everyday game playing? Well, that's going to be critical. That's going to be critical for this thing to work, because we can all want one thing, but if you don't have the heart of the players to want to do it that way, now you might find yourself trying to, fit square pegs in a round circle.
And then the one thing about I was really looking forward to today's show, because getting to actually hear from all of the new assistant coaches and kind of get a feel for what they're about, I think is really fun for Cowboy fans. But then the other side of my brain, and this is the part that is the natural skeptic, is the words they use or however they answer questions. Are they all kind of the same when you get new coaches? Like the words that you're going to hear, you know what I mean? Where it's just like, oh yes, we're going to, like Joe, you mentioned it earlier. We're going to be physical and we're going to take the ball away and we're going to be violent. And it's like all of those different words. And so is it fair for Cowboy fans to hear the things they say, or do you walk away from your interactions with them, I guess, buying what they're selling? Or is it just like, yeah, this is the way this day was going to go?
But before you answer that, Joe, I just want to add one thing to what Jeff said. I haven't heard violence. I've heard more common things. Hey, we want to run the ball. Hey, we want to kind of do certain things a certain way. But to use a specific term like violent or violence, I think that stood out to me more than the normal coach speak.
Yeah, and on that note, I think that's a term that they got specifically from Brian Schottenheimer to use specifically. That's one thing that these offensive coaches all credit. They said, Schotty has a clear vision, and he has clearly communicated to us exactly what it is. And then they all went out and said it. So, yeah, it's kind of coach speak in terms of them saying a lot of the same things, but they said the same things. So I think that that's a sign that there's kind of a clear line of trickle-down effect of communication from Brian Schottenheimer. And then on the defensive side, and you'll talk with Clarence more about this, they all said the same thing that Matt Eberflus wanted, and they all said something similar there. So I think at the very, very least, I wouldn't be saying, this is signs that they're going to lead the league in takeaways and have the lowest yards per carry allowed on defense, and they're going to run for 8 yards a carry. But at the very least, there is a clear messaging that is being sent down to the assistant coaches. And I think that's something to keep an eye on. The other thing, too, about this day, and I'm glad you brought this up, Jeff, is because I asked Clayton Adams, hey, man, you had a physical running back in James Conner in Arizona that helped kind of shape that violent identity. Here, you've got a lot of openings on the running back staff and not a lot of guys in the position. How do you kind of envision trying to get guys to maybe acclimate to that? And his response was, hey, it's too early for that. It's too early. We're still doing player evals. And I think that's one thing that was said by a lot of coaches. Maybe it's a cop-out, or maybe it's kind of reality of where they're at. They're still evaluating people. But in terms of what Jesse was kind of talking about too, it's easy to talk about and being violent without actually putting it to action. So I think one thing you're going to have to keep an eye on is what do they do specifically with the running back position to help kind of get violent on that offense, to go with that offensive line. One note, Derek Foster's last 2 running backs, Alvin Kamara and Austin Eckler, the new running backs coach. When you think of physicality, those are not 2 of the guys you really think of. You think of pass catching guys. So I wonder if maybe that means they'll get someone physical and more of a pass catching guy, kind of do a hybrid thing. Or do you want the complete back? Do you want someone who can do all things? Or do you want a Jordan James type of run through your face kind of guy? I think it's going to be fascinating to see exactly what they do with the running back position with that kind of mindset moving forward.
Yeah, Joe. Yeah, Joe. We could go ahead and put an Oregon Duck on this team. If you like the NFL draft, just go Google Jordan James. I was late to this party on my running backs. He's like the 15th guy I watched. And when I was watching him, I typed in the word MFer a couple of times. And then I typed in the word Marshawn Lynch a couple of times. If you want to run through your face, dude, Oregon's got one for you. But then we would have to find a scat back. We'd have to go find us a scat back. And I think we could do that. We could find one of those.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we got coaches. Now we got to figure out, can they find the players to implement what it is that they want to do? Are they satisfied with the offensive linemen that they already have here? My challenge with this team offensively, and like who they might add, or I think they should add, et cetera, is when you go look at like a Cowboys depth chart and you look at where they're short in terms of bodies that are going to be on the roster, offensive line isn't one of them. And so it's kind of my worry that they'll roll with what they've got, because they go, hey, look, we drafted Guyton to be the left tackle. We have Awesome Richards on the roster to compete with him. If Brock Hoffman were a starter, we've still got TJ Bass behind the interior guys. Like, that's one of the very few spots on the team where they at least have the humans under contract. And a lot of them, it seems like they like, or at least they like a little bit. Or I guess now we don't know, right? Doesn't everything change? New coaching staff? Doesn't everything change? Like, maybe nobody's liked anymore.
Well, on that note, I mean, you know who some of the biggest fans of specifically Brock Hoffman and TJ Bass are? Brian Schottenheimer. He went to bat many, many times over the last 2 years.
Crap!
About how much he likes those 2 guys. It's funny. I didn't even think about that until you brought it up, Jeff. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if he feels comfortable rolling back Brock Hoffman and TJ Bass at right guard.
Okay, let's go ahead and skip Jeanty. We'll just run with whatever we got. If we're going to run with whatever line we got, let's go ahead and run with some other backs, and we'll just be okay at that, and we'll go with Jesse's plan of just building up the passing game. We're not even going to worry. PT, 1, 2, and yeah. All right, so we're just going to roll with what we got. That's fine.
I think it's possible. All
right, it is the DLLS Cowboys Podcast. Coming up next, Pop will step into Club Pop. He was out there at the Star yesterday as well. We'll talk about some of the things that we learned defensively. We'll work our way through that. Fran Duffy is going to join us to talk draft at 11:30, and that is all coming up next on the DLLS Cowboys Podcast.
I don't have my props today, but you do have your computer, and you can head on over to iceshaker.com right now and use the promo code ALLCITY25 to get 25% off one of these amazing protein drink shakers or just a regular drink shaker. Let me tell you about this thing right here. Ice Shakers, it's a company that's made by the Gronk brothers. Like Chris Gronkowski and Rob Gronkowski and all of the Hulk Slam Smash, Gronk. Yeah, those guys, championship level product. If you head over to their website, it is all authenticated, and I'm doing a live read here.
Clarence, you're making sounds.
Appreciate you, bro. They are officially licensed in all major sports. You can get one of your liking or get a gift for someone else. They have the agitator already inside. You don't have to worry about your protein clumping up and not being able to be smooth on the way down. It keeps it cold up to 30 hours. Head over to iceshaker.com. Use the promo code AllCity25 to get 25% off one of these cups.
Clarence, I can confirm your mic works because when you move things, we can hear it. And it goes, donk, donk.
You never beat the allegations.
Shout out to our friends at Game Time. If you're looking for last-minute tickets, I mean, tickets at any time, but I think it's great for last-minute tickets. Our friends at Game Time can get you squared away. Make sure you have that app on your phone, and if you use the code DLLS on your first purchase, you get $20 off. The Game Time app is absolutely incredible. You can get the all-in pricing right there, which you toggle that feature. It shows you the whole total up front, so you won't have any surprise fees at checkout. You can get a panoramic view from the seat in the app right before you buy. The lowest price guarantee, or they'll credit you 110% of the difference. And their tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use the code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account. Code DLLS. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. What time is it?
Game time.
Boom.
Where legends drop, Clarence Hill just can't stop. Breaking news, you gotta hop in Club Pop.
There you go.
Killing me.
Chills.
You're killing me. You're killing me.
Jeremy said Chill's afraid if he mutes it, he won't be able to get it back.
You might be right.
I was off mute the whole first segment, so I was doing some things. I didn't realize I was off mute. I'm sorry. I was on mute the whole first segment.
You and mute have a complicated relationship. It's tough. It's complicated. What's up, Clarence? How you doing, man?
I'm well, man. How you guys doing? I was listening to you guys talk, certainly the first segment, talking about the messaging. And I asked one of the coaches, I asked Sorensen about, yeah, this is what every coach says. This is how you go to different teams. They start. These are things that they say, and he talked about the difference between Schotty and his messaging that's different, and it's the way he's stressing. And he's talking about everybody saying the same thing. He said he's stressing it over and over and over every day. The coaches are meeting at the hotel. I don't met the Omni. You know, they just moved here. They just got there a couple weeks ago. They're home. They're all at the Omni, at the Star, in the room together every day. And he continues stressing the same message where all the coaches, you know, I wrote a story today that's certainly in the diehards, that Schotty has a clear view and a clear direction. He's given all the coaches what he wants the Cowboys to be, how they want them to play. You talk about violence, talk about running the ball. He's been very clear about what he wants from their coaching staff. And he also said it's about the players. You know, you be connected with your players. It's about family-oriented atmosphere. Be connected with your players. Certainly they can't talk football, but they had asked all the coaches to reach out to their players and talk to their players and certainly start creating those relationships. And you're right. It's about the Jimmys and the Joes as much as it's about the X's and O's. And they will be flexible. They will be flexible when it comes to players, not just trying to, put a square peg in a round hole and using the player to the best of their ability. So that's some of the overall things that you got from the coaches, just being understanding that Schotty has a clear view and a clear direction of what he wants from his coaching staff and for his football team.
And we'll talk about defensive things because we kind of did offense before. But one thing that we didn't mention in the first segment that apparently I'm sure it was you that asked about it because you're the guy who got him hurt in the first place. Apparently you were out there asking coaches about the QB running being part of the scheme, and they were like, oh, yeah, that's a big part of it. So you're trying to get the quarterback hurt some more?
I'm not trying to get the quarterback hurt, but we all see that, we've talked about this, that you dual threat is that's what football is nowadays. Even Patrick Mahomes is taking quarterback sweeps into the end zone. And certainly one thing you noticed with Clayton Adams' offense in Arizona was the run part, the QB run part. With a diminutive quarterback, and you wonder how much that's going to be part of what he does in Dallas, because we know that Dak has not run as much later in his career, and certainly got hurt last year running, and he's overcoming a torn hamstring injury. How much can Dak be a part of a running process? And he didn't back down. He didn't deny that he likes the QB running. And certainly he talked about being in the red zone close to the goal line, certainly in late game situations. Obviously, it's not something he's going to call a lot, but he wants the QB to be able to use his legs, certainly in near the goal line, and certainly, when the game's on the line. But yeah, he didn't deny that that's something that he liked in his quarterback.
Okay, we joke about that stuff, but I mean, in all seriousness, Jesse, is that still a part of Dak's game? Can that be a part of Dak's game?
At this point in time in his career, yes and no. I think, like, if you do it in moderation, sure, but we're coming to a point, and especially for a guy like Shotty, like, you have very limited room to get things wrong. And to do something like, and maybe it's not intentional if Dak gets hurt, but to run your quarterback intentionally, knowing that he doesn't have the full burst as he once had, and you lose your quarterback on a situation like that, that won't sit well with the people in charge, because it'll be another lost season for everybody, for players, for coaches, and for front office. So I think in moderation, right? I think more so of not necessarily design and designated Kyler Murray type runs, but more so of the, hey, big fella, if this is open, take it, right? Like if it's third down, if it's if it's third and short, hey, we're going to spread this thing out. If they part like the Red Sea, don't be afraid to go ahead and step up in that pocket and go get those 4 or 5 yards. But I personally find it hard to believe that we're going to be seeing the RPOs and you seeing, Dak Prescott not giving the football and him coming around the corner, or we're doing Lamar Jackson type, low left, low right sweeps to the outside. I don't think that's a part of his game anymore, should not be a part of his game anymore, but more of the emphasis on, hey, we still need you to be able to be mobile. We still need you to be able to not just try to stand there in the pocket and wait for something to come open. If it's available, we need you in certain situations just to go ahead and be an athlete and go get the first down. But to the point of designated runs for Dak Prescott, I don't think that should be in the game plan for him.
Yeah, I think Jesse's right in how he looks at it. Certainly in certain situational, you got to be able to use your legs. You got to understand that's part of the game that you have to tap and not just be just a quote unquote pocket quarterback. You have to be able to make plays with your legs. Certainly, you're not going to call a lot of quarterback runs. Certainly, we talk about the zone reading and keeps, but you have to have that in your arsenal. You have to have the threat of it, and I think that's part of what he's talking about.
So, and then Clarence, you talked to Matt Eberflus and all of the coaches yesterday. And I think one of the first things that people wonder about when you talk about anything with the Cowboys defense is like, what's going to happen with Micah Parsons, and people like to fight about where he should line up and what he should do. And ultimately, I think the goal is he should be going forward and trying to tackle the quarterback. But with Matt Eberflus, have we heard that anything will be different, or in terms of Micah Parsons' role, is there going to be, I guess, just anything different?
No, there will be nothing different. He has a plan for Micah Parsons, and that's to let him get after the quarterback. And I talked to him, started to talk to the defensive line coach, and they said that's what he does best. Babe asked him, did you have to talk to him about being linebacker and defensive end? He's a defensive end. He will rush the passer. That's his job, to rush the passer. The thing that scared people initially when Eberflus came is because he's not a guy that likes to move people around, and all over the formation, and that's not been his history. So that's something Micah has done. Where's Waldo? He's going to be left end, he's going to be right end, he's going to be rushing from the A gap and different things like that. He didn't get into the details, but he did say that we're going to put Micah in position to rush the passer like he said has been, hopefully, even play even better than what he's played in the past. So that was interesting. Certainly something that Micah was interested in, because he knows how Zimmer and Dan Quinn game plan for him and use things to implement him to do what he does best. Certainly, it's his third defense coordinator in the last 4 years, and that's something how you going to use me, how you going to implement me, because everybody has a different idea, certainly with different styles of defense. But the message they had from Micah Parsons yesterday was that you're going to rush the quarterback. You're a defensive end. You're a pressure player. We're going to use you to your best ability to get after the quarterback.
Clarence, you hit on a point for Micah Parsons. This is his third defensive coordinator. So in essence, his third defensive change. And we do a lot of focus around Micah Parsons, rightfully so, right? Like rightfully so.
He's good.
He's really good at football, and we should.
He's good.
But how, like, when Micah, you can just let him be Micah, and that'll be good enough. How are the others in this going to really have to adjust? Those who will either be on their third defensive coordinator or those who will be on their second defensive coordinator. How is that adjustment going to be taken by those guys?
Well, one interesting, and we could talk about that, because I talked about they talked about they want to attack. The defensive line specifically, they want to attack. They want to be on the other side of the ball. They want to be in the other backfield. And they need attacking type players, and obviously they can't really get into the Osa thing, but Eberflus said Osa is important, and you need those type of players. It's not just making, you have to have difference-making players to harass the quarterback. And one thing that caught my eye was them talking about how they expected Mozzie Smith to really take to the scheme. Now, so I got a story about Mozzie and Micah on the Die Hard right now, but Mozzie's been a guy who certainly was disappointed as rookie when they said, well, the Dan Quinn's attacking scheme wasn't right for him, right? Because he had to get up the field. That's not what he does best. Last season, we're going to be in Zimmer's scheme, read and react, we're going to hold the guards and linebackers can run and make plays. That's more suited for him. Certainly he played every game, but I wouldn't say he was a difference-making player as a run, stop, or a pass rush. He has 2 career sacks. But one thing that White Cotton and one thing Eberflus talked about was Mozzie's athletic ability and the explosion off the ball, things that we've really never heard about him being explosive off the ball and being athletic like that. But that's what they said, and they think that this scheme and this system, they're going to have him attack the quarterback, not just sit there. We talked about him not getting off the things that we've seen in the past, him not being able to get off the ball and really fast. But that's something that they want and believe that they can get out of Mozzie Smith, him attacking the quarterback, being an attacking type player. Again, the focus is stopping the run, but they're going to stop their run on the way to the quarterback.
Yeah, no, I understand Mozzie as I understand the optimism around Mozzie. Of course, the scheme's going to be great for him. And, I think the optimism is probably built around the fact that they looked at the roster and said, oh, he's the only one on the roster. We should probably talk about how good he is. And here's the thing. What we got to do is stop letting people lie to us.
Right.
The Mozzie is an explosive whatever story. Came from Bruce Feldman's article that he does every year before the draft, where he makes his freaks list, and his freaks list about Mozzie was pushing and pulling on levers with weights on them and jumping up some steps as fast as he could. Like, if you don't have tackles for loss or sacks in college, if you don't run a hellified 10-yard split or 3-cone drill, don't try to tell me what a great athlete a dude is when he hasn't proven it in any way, shape, or form on a football field. Mozzie Smith is not an explosive athlete, defensive tackle. The end. One dude wrote an article about him jumping upstairs and a push-pull machine, and suddenly he's a freak athlete that's going to bust on the scene and suddenly make so many plays in the backfield when he never did it in college. And I'm done with that. I just wanted to let y'all know. I just wanted to get a sneaky run off.
And I'm glad you got the run off, because it was a day which everybody said positive things. Everybody laid out their plan, and as you said, you can have a plan, but if you have the players to implement it, what's the point? And certainly Eberflus talked about we want to turn the ball over. Well, so did Dan Quinn, so did Mike Zimmer. Everybody wants to turn the ball over and stop.
I do too.
How you gonna do that? Okay. And one thing that caught me, they kept talking about the secondary and their corners and how great their corners would have. 2 of the 2 best corners in the league.
Who's the second one?
Exactly. Exactly. We don't know if D's gonna be able to play. When he's going to be able to play, He's coming off some type of microfracture type surgery. I mean,
but it's the new microfracture.
Yeah, it's new sometime, whatever. I'm just saying though that the idea that we're supposed to, everybody, it's the spring, whole spring eternal. Everybody has optimism at this point. New staff, and you're saying on the right thing, but you're talking about the two corners like you have two lockdown, rock solid, guaranteed going to be on the field corners, and that's not true.
No, no, this is a hot dog or bun situation.
No, this is a hot dog bun. Hot dog, sure.
Clarence, we'll see you in a few minutes. We're going to chat with Fran Duffy about the draft, and then I know you have an agenda to push in the last segment of the show. I know you're trying to draft a certain guy. I see what you're doing on Twitter. Joe saw it, I saw it. We see what you're trying to do. Fran Duffy joins us. We're talking NFL draft as we do every week. Next with Fran Duffy on the DLLS Cowboys Podcast.
March Madness is right around the corner, and you need to get
mute your crap, Clarence.
You need to get your man cave. You need to get your video room. You need to get your she shed if you're a young lady, all set and ready to go. Saturday Neon is the place to go. Saturday Neon, it was a company developed by two college buddies, and they just said, hey, let's just go out there and give people the best and baddest and dopest neon collegiate signs. Over 75 of the top colleges you can get a neon sign from. North Carolina, you can definitely get one from.
Hey, man.
I believe I don't know, but SaturdayNeon.com. Use the promo code DLLS and you'll get 10% off. This LED lighting lasts up to 120,000 hours. Head over to SaturdayNeon.com. Use the promo code DLLS and get 10% off a purchase.
Also, shout out to our friends at Sleeper. Yes, indeed, as the person in the chat said, here come the ads. We do indeed do 4 minutes of ads in a 60-minute space. You're welcome to find someone who does less than that anywhere in a broadcast space. I dare you. But our friends at Sleeper are badass. I love the Sleeper app. DLLS Boys is the promo code that you need, because when you download the Sleeper app, you use the promo code DLLS Boys, you get $55 in free entries. When you place a $5 contest, that's a pretty sweet hookup. And all you're doing is you're saying if you think that somebody's going to have more or less than their projected stats in their game. So you can go in there and you can mess around with NBA, you can do MLB, you can do NHL, you can do esports. Joe told me about the esports. I never clicked over to that side. But yeah, and the more picks that you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. It's your daily fantasy. Get your picks on and show us how smart you are. I believe in you. That's our friends at Sleeper. Make sure you use the promo code DLLS Boys, and that will get you your hookup. That's what you got to do. Shout out to our friends at Sleeper. All right. Look at that. We got a Fran Duffy graphic for you.
There you go.
Fran's getting a new fridge today. I don't know if he wants you to know that, but Fran's getting a new fridge today. And he and I already talked about what's going on with his attire. So, Jesse, you don't have to ask.
Yeah. Let's do it all on three. What? Oh, wait.
We're good.
Oh, are you?
No raw dog in here, baby. No
dangerously close.
Yeah, it was close. I thought myself for a second. I was like, wait a second. Now, hold on 1 minute.
Hey, put the hairs away.
That's not hair. That's a tattoo.
Oh, it looked like hairs.
No.
Oh, no, you shave your chest, don't you?
I manscape. I shave all the way down, baby. This is, we don't play around here.
I can see Fran being a hairy guy. Are you a hairy guy, Fran?
No, I'm not. I'm in certain spots, but not on the chest. Not too much. That old Italian side of me hasn't kicked in yet.
This is Fran Duffy. He's our draft guru, draft expert for All City, and PHLY are colleagues. I don't know if I want to say friends, because they just got to win the Super Bowl, and that sucks for everybody outside of that city. But Fran's a badass at the draft, and if you're signed up to be a diehard, which you should be, you can do it at alldlls.com. You get access to his draft content, which is absolutely incredible. Like, it's the most interactive, badass way to see all scouting reports, rankings for all the players you want. He's updating it at all times. It's greatness. So sign up to be a diehard, or else. That's not a threat, of course. Fran, thank you for joining us, and your fridge will be here later or soon.
Yeah, we're starting looking like 2:00 local time, maybe like 2:30. They gave me the window. They're like, it's that classic. All right, we'll be there between 10 and 3. And I'm like, all right, great, perfect, guys. So yeah, we're hanging out, but thankfully I'm able to we're able to do this without interruption.
They'll be there at 4:30.
How much did it cost? Because my ice maker stopped working the other day, and my refrigerator's not as cold as it used to be, and I feel like I'm about to follow you down this path. What are we talking about here? How many commas?
Only one comma, but it was a little bit more than what we were anticipating when we walked in the store, as it always is.
Appliance hack: go to the big box stores, or tell them you want the one that have a dent in it. It's not a big dent, maybe a little dent in the side. Nothing's wrong with the refrigerator.
Right.
Nothing's wrong with it. But just tell them you want the one that has a dent, the open box one, somebody might have returned it, or delivering, somebody might have scraped it. You get the same fridge that minus the comma, just for a couple $100.
Well, to the guy who's in the chat that said clean the filter, Jeff, please DM me on Twitter and tell me how. I sure would appreciate it. That'd be great. Fran, you're getting ready for the NFL Combine, which is one of my favorite events, because I do think that there are certain things that matter for certain position groups if you follow along with trends and thresholds and all of that jazz. And as you're getting ready for that, I saw what you wrote for us, and the number of people invited at certain positions is interesting to me. The two that I noted is there are like more defensive tackles than ever, and there are less offensive linemen than usual by a long shot. Is that a reflection of a strength of a draft, or do you dictate that more off of like the top 100, 120 guys?
It's interesting. And it really just depends on how you define strength of a draft. It definitely reflects depth. And I think that when you look at it, typically the way that the National Scouting Combine, the way that invite list is created is, basically they're, you're getting those recommendations from scouts around the league, and all the teams will have a say. And we want this guy invited, we want that guy invited. And if he hits a certain threshold, then that player earns an invite. Now, again, one thing I typically track year to year is how many from each position get invited. And it's just an idea of all right, because not all of these guys are going to get drafted. And there's usually, we'll say 20, 15 players that aren't invited to the combine that end up getting drafted. So there's plenty, and some teams are willing to dive into those waters more than others. The Cowboys have drafted some non-combine guys in recent years. So I think when you look at it overall, it is representative, though, of the depth in a class. And defensive tackle, there's depth at the top in round one, there's depth in the middle rounds, and there's depth in the back end. No matter what you're looking for, you're going to get it. And then on the offensive line, I think there are some talented players that are going to go in the first round, but I think it definitely starts to dry up once you get to round 3, round 4. Those options look a little less alluring.
Another position group that I'm interested in for the Cowboys, and they're weird because they decided not to try last offseason, and they haven't drafted well, and they have a bunch more impending free agents. But one of the spots on their team that technically they have the guys to go keep playing is tight end. Yeah. But I don't know that I love the guys that are ready to go keep playing. Jake Ferguson, after getting hurt last year, kind of, I don't know. He's fine, I think. But behind him, And I saw there was a lot more tight ends invited. How do you view this tight end class? I know it's at least solid at the top, but are there a lot of options in this draft?
Yeah, man, this is probably one of the better tight end groups that I've seen in my time covering the draft. And I think when you look at it, it's another one where there's depth in the first round where we could see anywhere from 2 to 3 and, go in the first round. And then after that, again, you get into day 2 and there are a bunch of guys who are like, yeah, I could see this guy becoming an impact player. You get into day 3, this guy's got some upside, or this guy's a dominant blocker. Maybe he's not going to be, a ideal 3-down player as a receiving threat, but can bring value as a dominant point of attack player in the run game. And so I think when you look at it, there are definitely options, no matter what you're looking for, because the Eagles, I was just talking about this with the PHLI Eagles guys, where it was all right, if you're looking for a 3-down replacement for Dallas Goedert, or for Dallas's sake, if you're looking for someone to upgrade from Jake Ferguson, you've got that. Or if you want someone to complement Ferguson, to complement your starter, you got those options too. So it would not shock me if we see multiple teams in this draft come away with multiple tight ends in the class.
Fran, when you talk about the draft, is there any particular guy and or group that needs to have a good showing? Like this showing of the combine would really make or break whether this guy is one of the guys that we will be talking about all offseason, or guys be like, boy, you really cost yourself a lot of money.
Yeah, I think that when you're looking at the front seven, in particular the defensive line, to me, like that, this can be the separator. This can be when you have large chunks of players grouped together. And again, with this defensive tackle class, with this edge rush group, there's a lot of clumps. And so you're just looking for separating factors. And it might be, hey, who went down to the Senior Bowl? You saw these guys go back to back to back in one-on-ones. Who did best? And then the other example of that is going to be here in Indianapolis, and who tested better, who looked. To me personally, guys, like I get as much from the positional workouts as I do from the athletic testing portion. I park at the same spot every year. I've been doing it for like the last decade in the lower bowl, and I watch those positional workouts like a hawk while everyone's doing the jumps in the 40s and everything. I love watching the positional workouts because you get to see these guys go back to back to back doing the same drill, in their underwear and in tights, and say like, all right, like there's no hiding, right? You can kind of see your athleticism, you can see a guy's movement, you can see his athleticism, his reaction quickness. And so for me, like when you look at the combine, this can be a great way to kind of separate your big chunks of players. And for me, like the front seven is the biggest area we'll see that here in this draft.
We hear a lot about, we hear more so with guys at the top of the draft, right? Those high lottery type picks. When you hear that teams will then begin to put out maybe some sort of negative conversations about those players, hoping that they would fall for them. Like, does that conversation start in Indy? Do you start hearing like the ownerships or GMs or scouts or whatever? Does those type of conversations happen in Indianapolis? Or like where does that whole thing start from? And have you had any stories of your own that you looked around and you'd be like, yeah, I remember this guy loving this dude at Indy. We talked about him at a restaurant, but all of a sudden his team started saying that they weren't really interested in that guy.
Yeah, you're funny because it's all dependent on who you talk to, right? And because even if you talk to somebody in the same building, right, you might talk to a director of college scouting and then talk to a quarterback coach and then talk to an area scout, right, all from the same club, and get different feelings, right? Everybody's going to have their own take on a player, and you might talk them in. I know there were one example would be like Drake May last year. I remember talking with some different people from different teams last year about Drake May, and here. And it's like, man, I love Drake May. I love what he's bringing to the table. It went really, really well. And then as the spring went on, you start to hear like, oh, like a lot of people for this team don't really love Drake May. This guy, if he falls to them, they probably won't take him. And then we hear draft week, that this team was actually looking to trade up for him, right? And so I think that something that honestly, Jesse, like, I track that personally, right? When I talk to people, and I don't hold it against them, right? But you have to have a good understanding of who's giving you good information, who's not giving you good information, who can you trust explicitly, and then who are you like, oh, I got to take that with a grain of salt here moving forward. But it is silly season once we get to Indy. After that, you have to take. I always try and follow up with 2 or 3 people before I really feel good about putting something out publicly, or I'll couch it with saying like, hey, like one person said this, another person said that, and you can do with the information what you will.
So, Fran, we have one person on the show, Clarence Hill, Pop. He is, I think, driving a secret campaign. Yeah, go ahead, Kati. Let us hear Club Pop, if you don't mind.
Club Pop Pop, where legends drop. Clarence Hill just can't stop. Breaking news, you gotta hop in Club Pop Pop.
And he won't come out and say it, but I think he's driving the train to try to get Tyler Warren picked at number 12 overall. My question to you is, just for fun, assuming you had a need at all positions, Tyler Warren, that's the Penn State tight end, Tet McMillan, Arizona receiver, Ashton Jeanty, Boise State running back, are all available. Who would you pick?
I mean, Jeanty's the highest on my board. He is the best player. So to me, it would be Jeanty. Now, I do think you start to take into account like where you're at in your team build and the long-term viability, things like that. And so for me, then I might lean toward Tetairoa McMillan. Where I struggle, with Tyler Warren is Brock Bowers was amazing. It was an outstanding tight end prospect. We just saw him fall to the mid part around right around the same spot. I'm pretty sure he went a couple slots after where the Cowboys are picking right now. Tyler Warren's a good player. He's not Brock Bowers, and so when I look at it, I'm like, man. But I think we talked about this last week. That's feel about a lot of the guys in this class, and so I think you almost have to, put those feelings aside, those negative connotations aside, and just accept that the guy that you're going to take most likely in the top 12, top 15, top 10 of this draft. Don't try and compare him to his contemporaries at the same position that went in the same slot. But I do think Warren's a nice player. I would probably stack it in that order, though, where I would go Jeanty, T-Mac, and then Tyler Warren.
Fran Duffy, you're a beast. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Appreciate it, guys. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Good luck with that fridge. I hope you have the ice maker that has the option for the chipped up ones. Yeah, crushed or cubed. I hope you have the two options. All right, there goes Fran Duffy. Coming up next, Clarence Hill fires back. I bet he's had enough of this Tyler Warren slander. And there's one other thing that maybe the Cowboys could do instead of picking a player that I just saw somebody write about. And it's
right up your alley.
It's next on the DLLS Cowboys Podcast. Hey, did you know that we're currently having our spring training offer? If you want to sign up to be a diehard, $48 instead of the usual where it's about $80. $48 is the spring training offer with baseball getting kicked off right now. Pitchers and catchers are out there. Rangers are getting ready to kick ass and take names. You sign up to be a diehard at alldlls.com. That'll get you all squared away. And that'll be what Jesse did the math on that. I don't remember what the math, 12, 24, 36, 48.
Yeah,
it's $4.
There we go, Allen High School. Let's go, Allen.
$4 a month is like a cup of coffee, and you buy more than one of those a month. I don't, but you do. Somebody does. And so, that gets you squared away. And they get you access to everything. Our Discord lounge where everybody's hanging out. If you're a diehard of all your local DFW teams, sign up to be a diehard. It's an absolute no-brainer. It's the greatest value in sports that you're going to find. It gets you everything you could possibly ever want about all of your local teams, plus the NFL draft content from Fran, plus a free t-shirt from our merch store, plus 20% off merch if you want to buy something on there. And we do have new St. Patty's stuff in the merch store, so you're going to want to go check that out. Well, you see the little green stuff down there? Look at the green stuff down there. Yeah. So if you want to get hooked up with some cool stuff, you just head on over to our merch store and get that squared away. alldlls.com/diehard. Get signed up or else, and that is not a threat. Pop's coming back in. Bringing back Pop. There he is. Clarence, how you doing, brother? How'd that treat you? You hear that man talking bad about your guy?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I never said he was the best option at 12. I pushed back on the notion that he's a jag, that he ain't special. Dude can play. And I do like a jag.
But Fran definitely said what I was saying the other day was...
I do say this, and it's one thing that Fran brought up. He kind of contradicted himself. Yeah, he's not as good as Brock Bowers was last year. Well, no junk. But you can't compare this draft to last year's draft because the quality in this draft is not there. When you talk about the players available at 12, he most certainly is going to be in the conversation based on the quality of this draft. And that's the only way you can look at it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I've ever said. It's based on that's why you have to take the running back, even though running backs devalue the position because of the quality of this draft. If the running back is there and he's far and away the best player, I mean, you have to do that. That's all I've said.
I just like pretending people said stuff they didn't say to try to draw them off sides, and we did it. It's going to be 5 yards. We're going to move the ball forward 5 yards. Clarence Hill has jumped offside. Kat, can we hit Aaron has sent a couple of super chats. I want to shout out to him. He was talking during the Dak stuff, play action, boot, roll out, not QB, sneak up the A gap. And then his second one, how does Jeanty stack up to previous top running backs out of recent drafts? How does he compare to Zeke coming out of Ohio State? Thanks. I would say I like Jeanty better than I liked Zeke as a prospect. And
somebody just put some on social media that I saw it. They rated all the running backs, I guess, since 2017, and Jeanty was rated third. He was rated ahead of Bijan Robinson and the other guy from that draft that's with Detroit. I can't think of his name, but he was ranked third behind Saquon was one. Somebody else, I think Jeanty was third. So he rates, when you look at the other drafts, the previous drafts for running back, he rates really high among those other guys.
Which the little bit, like when you talk about the Zeke comparison, which is a little bit odd to me, because I don't think I don't think Jeanty is a better pass catcher, and I don't think Jeanty has as good of the breakaway speed that Zeke had when he came out of Ohio State.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of jaded now by how quick all that went away for Zeke.
Yeah, but we're talking about Ohio State Zeke. Like there was a lot of special skills that Zeke had. Of course, the running of the football, being able to get downhill, running behind his pads, having the ability to jump cut and get there, breaking tackles. He had the top end speed, right? When Zeke got into the open field, you saw the yard markers begin to get further and further from the defenders that were chasing him. He had really good hands out of the backfield, was an excellent pass blocker. So maybe we're sitting at a little bit of a recency bias because, Zeke is now on the other end of what he was, but Zeke was a bad mofo coming out of Ohio State that when you go back and you look at that, it's tough to say that Jeanty would compare.
I think I got a theory. I think you hate anybody that wears blue that's not Carolina. We got Tyler Warren hate. We got Jeanty hate. Because I think Jeanty fits very well with Bijan, Gurley, Zeke, Barkley. You name them. I think Jeanty fits right with them.
And Jesse, I got to ask you one thing, Jesse. How much are you grading down because he played the boys? I think you got some small school hate in you too.
I do have small school hate in me.
Yeah, I think that's part of your evaluation of him is that because he didn't play the competition day in, day out. For sure. Yeah, I've openly admitted that. Admitted that. That to me matters. That to me definitely matters. And it's not a automatic disqualifier, but competition does matter. It does matter if you're able to do that versus the Big Ten, and you do that versus He did against Oregon. He carved up Oregon. Everybody. I'm just saying. Right. The clock is right. He was the only person they had to stop, and they didn't stop him at all. So it wasn't like it was a one-off. But I would say this: that somebody did a best 5 prospects ever graded in the pre-draft rookie supermodel from 2017 to 2025. So this doesn't include Zeke. They got Saquon Barkley 1, Chris McCaffrey 2, Ashton Jeanty 3, Joe Mixon 4, Gibbs 5, and Bijan 6. That's just somebody else's ranking of how he stacks up compared to running backs since 2017.
Hating on Bijan in there. Jason's in the super chat. Taking Jeanty will make defensive scheme for him. Finally stack the box. Imagine CD with a stack box and play actions back. That is Dak's best offense. And nobody's ever. I am a data man. I'm a tape man and a data man. I'm a football man. No one has ever really been able to quantify what it means or which way it makes a linebacker lean. But I do think one of the values of the really highly picked running back or the other team thinks he's awesome running back is just that they think about him. And I do think that Ashton Jeanty could help you in that way. And Knight 405 is passing on Jeanty like passing on Moss again. No, because he's a running back. Randy Moss was a wide receiver.
Moss is a Hall of Famer. And
Randy Moss was he played receiver. Okay, now there's one other thing I want to do.
Before people say it, because I know what's coming next. They're going to say, "Look, Jesse, Randy Moss went to Marshall, small school." Stop it. Randy Moss was at Florida State. He got himself in a little trouble and got kicked out.
He was at Notre Dame too.
Yeah, he was going. Randy Moss belonged amongst the greats. Well, he just got himself in a little bit of trouble wherever he was out beforehand. So don't come in here and say, "Oh, Randy Moss." I know, because you got some of y'all in here saying that UNC is a small school, which is crazy.
It is a small school to me.
What a lot of people missed on Jeanty. He was a 4-star running back. I don't know how he got to Boise, but a lot of local Big 12 schools, big time schools missed on the local kid from right here in Florida at Frisco.
I got a mini mock draft roundup. Anytime that a mock draft comes out from somebody that I respect, they will get acknowledged on the broadcast. And so I want to bring up Daniel Jeremiah. Daniel Jeremiah did one. Let me click over here. It was yesterday, whenever it was. Yesterday. Right after our show ended. And I'm just going to run you through the top 11, get you 212, and then tell you about the Cowboys. Because the reason I like talking about Daniel Jeremiah's or Fran Duffy's or Dane Brugler's is Daniel Jeremiah is actually transparent with his process from NFL.com, where he says, if I give you my top 50 Those are mine. If I give you a mock draft, I'm telling you what I'm hearing. And so he's actually trying to be accurate. Like, I can rank players however I want. If I do a mock draft, I'm going to do what I think is going to happen. And he's plugged in. So I like this. So Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft. Number 1, Abdul Carter, Penn State. Number 2, Cam Ward, Miami quarterback, Cleveland. Number 3, Travis Hunter to the Giants. Number 4, Patriots, Will Campbell, LSU offensive lineman. Number 5, Jacksonville Jaguars, Mason Graham, the D tackle at Michigan. Number 6, everyone is doing this, Raiders, Shadur Sanders. 7, Tyler Warren, Penn State tight end of the Jets. Number 8. I love both of your faces. Number 8, Jalen Walker, the Georgia linebacker / pass rusher to the Panthers. Number 9, Mike Green, Marshall, pass rusher to the Saints. Number 10, Calvin Banks, hook 'em to the Bears to block for Caleb Williams. Number 11, Will Johnson, Michigan corner. Number 12, to the Dallas Cowboys. This is not the first person who's done this. Walter Nolan, defensive tackle, Ole Miss. And I don't know. I just don't know what to do with that. Physical traits, sure. For sure. There are flashes that tell you this dude is an absolute monster. The consistency is not there. I like him a lot. 12 seems high, but 44 seems like you would not have a chance in hell. And so, okay, keep it in mind.
So here's my thing about guys like that. And there's no data or anything that I have to sustain this. This is purely Recky Specky from Messy Jess.
Yeah, Messy.
When you tell me about guys who have inconsistencies, whether that's in their play or in their actions, putting them in a place like Dallas only amplifies those things. Like from a football perspective, I need guys that at times, not at times, but I need that high. I need surefire guys. I need surefire guys. Like, either he is elite, right? Like, he's elite. So we know what we're going to get from him. Anytime you start adding those other inconsistent, doesn't have much tape, didn't play a lot.
Okay, so if I'm a scout and if I'm a scout and you're the GM, I just wouldn't show you the inconsistencies. I show you the good plays, and you'd go, damn, and you'd be happy. Do it that way.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a way to do it. That's a way to do it. But I would hope as a GM that I'm more plugged in, and I'm like, all right, now show me something else. Like, show me everything. You know, I'm just saying, if I was the GM, I want to see what it looks like when he's had a bad game. How does that look on film for me? But it's all, again, I have no analytical data or nothing to support this. This is all Recky Specky by me. Whenever, like, when I hear inconsistent, when I hear stuff like that, and he has an ability to turn it off and on, and just when you get to the world of the Cowboys, it just never plays out. It's not that it's a I don't know what it is, but I don't know if it's the environment. It's you get caught up in the lights and the cameras and the action, and you get elevated further than you should be because of where you're at. But I'm always a little bit skeptical of the guys who have those type of red flags on the field when it comes to them playing in Dallas.
So you're saying Sam Williams.
You said Sam Williams, not me.
Ashton Jeanty in the Sports Illustrated mock draft, they had Ashton Jeanty. And then in Pro Football Focus, this one I do want to sneak in. It says that the Cowboys drafted Will Johnson, Michigan corner, but then it says that they traded that pick to the Cleveland Browns for Myles Garrett. You want consistent? Trade the 12th overall pick for Myles Garrett. Have the 2 highest paid pass rushers on the planet once we give Myles a new contract, which he'll want. And Jesse and I yesterday were trying to figure out how to make one part of the Cowboys dominant because we can't make the whole team great. Done. How about the 2 best pass rushers on planet Earth on the same team? If I can get Myles Garrett for number 12, have him rework the contract so that they can move him before June 1st, and then you got to give him all the money, whatever. Are we trying or are we not trying? Because if we're trying, give me them 2 hunting everybody.
I'm with you.
And Philly can come get some.
If there's one unit I want dominant, it's defense.
Kick all your asses. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Remember, you have no idea what anybody's going through, so be cool to everybody. We love you. Be easy.
Eliminate the contingencies.
Or else.